and welcome to In Conversation. Connectivity is a lifeline that facilitates us in our day-to-day lives, in going to school or hospital or work. For those of us living in metros, it's difficult to imagine a life without connectivity. Our guest today is Girish Bharadwaj, who has built more than 130 footbridges across several states in over 3 decades with a missionary zeal and the aim of providing connectivity to those villagers who were living in isolated villages. His bridges transformed lives in rural and remote areas. Here is his story. Girish Bharadwaj is fondly called the Bridge Man of India for transforming the lives of people living in villages isolated from the mainland. Girish was born on 12th May 1950 in the city of Mangaluru in Karnataka. In 1952, his family shifted to Aletti village in Dakshin Kannada district of the state. After graduating in mechanical engineering, Girish opened a workshop in his village in 1975. Girish's village was cut off from the mainland by the Payaswini River, and the people of his village were dependent on a country boat to cross the river and reach the mainland. In 1989, Girish resolved the problem of lack of connectivity by building a low-cost hanging bridge. The bridge was built across the Payaswini River, connecting Arambur segment of Aletti village with the mainland. Since then, Girish Bharadwaj has built 137 hanging bridges in different parts of India, mainly to provide connectivity with the mainland and some to promote tourism. He was also invited to execute hanging bridges in other countries such as Switzerland and Sri Lanka. In 2017, the Government of India conferred him with the Padma Shri for his contribution to rural empowerment. Girish's bridges enabled children to go to school, the ailing to visit hospitals, and the youth to earn their livelihood, opening a world of opportunities for those living in remote and unconnected places and earning him the moniker of the Bridge Man of India. Welcome, Mr. Bharadwaj, to Doordarshan.
Thank you.
From being known only as Girish Bharadwaj to being recognized as the Bridge Man of India, how did your journey start?
It started accidentally when my villagers came and requested me to build a bridge. First I refused. I told them that I am a mechanical engineer, I don't know anything about bridges. But they had a lot of faith in me, requested me, you can do it. You can. Success comes in cans. So I went to Bangalore and bought some books, studied about the suspension bridges. Then they are all big bridges. But with a friend of mine, I simplified those designs, and we have to use locally available material, indigenous material. So designed one bridge. They took the design and estimate to the government department and MLA. They said, for hanging bridges, no grants. They came back. Sir, we want badly we are in need of a bridge. So we'll take contribution from every house and make it simple, as economical as possible. And I said, you don't have to pay anything to me. I have an idea, I will guide you. And you volunteers come forward and you collect all the material. I will get the work done through you only. So within 2.5 months, we could build the bridge. Whenever I go there, with a lot of devotion and gratefulness.
Tell us about the situation in your village in 1989 when people of your village came to you and urged you to help in building a bridge for them.
They had a small boat and it was broken. Only 6 people could go. After that, one man had to put the water out. They assured me. So this will not last for this religion. So we want to bridge, they said. So I felt their plight. So I agreed.
As a child, what was your dream? Did you always want to build bridges?
No. As a child, I wanted to become like my father. Then one of my uncles, he inspired me. You have to become an engineer. So, so while doing the PUC, I wanted to become an engineer. So I joined for engineering. And during engineering, I took mechanical so that I was thinking I can join some factory and get promoted and become the MD of that big industry. So after engineering, when I came here, my father advised me to become starting a small workshop helping the farmers. I was shocked. I'm an engineer. My father is telling me to become a mechanic. So first I kept silent. Then mother also told me, yeah, why don't you listen to your father's advice? So people are in need. They are taking there was no electricity in the villages. Only diesel engines, petrol started kerosene engine. So they are taking it to Puttur and Bangalore, quite far. So they can open a workshop here. The services can be rendered here. Besides, my father said we can do some welding work, general steel fabrication. Our town will grow, and you also will grow. So finally, I decided to start a workshop. Of course, I had a little, I had to struggle a lot. In the rainy season, there was no work. So struggling for existence.
So, despite the challenges, you continued to build bridges. Tell us about the kind of transformation that the bridge that you built in your village brought about for villagers.
In all villages, the so people, the children cannot go to schools. People cannot go for health as well, medical assistance, and medical staff cannot come to the village. Animal husbandry, the veterinary doctor will not come to the village, and people cannot go for job. And once the connectivity, they cannot be hanging bridge, any bridge. They want the physical connectivity. You know, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam wrote, towards developed India, he has extended his one para. For India to develop, there should be three types of connectivity. One is physical connectivity, first one, physical connectivity through quality roads and bridges. Second is electronic connectivity. Third one is knowledge connectivity. If these connectivity are fulfilled, our villages will develop. So first, it is physical connectivity. After doing the physical connectivity, the development starts. The villages get empowered. And these bridges, any bridge, it will connect them to the world of opportunities. So that's the change. Everywhere, everywhere same thing.
So, the change that you brought about in your village has been so fundamental that there was someone in your village who also credited you for saving his life. Tell us about that incident.
It is not like that. Say after about 20 years of building the first bridge, I had been to that village to see somebody. While going, one young man came. In front, sir, namaste, namaste. Could you recognize me? No, I don't remember it. When we are doing the bridge, I was going to seventh standard. Just on the other side of the bridge, there is a school. So I was going to study in seventh standard. He used to talk to me always. Okay, nice. So I went. Well, coming back, he was standing on the side of the footpath. Then he requested, sir, come to my house. I am in hurry. No, my father told to bring you. He is not well. He wants to see you. So I went there. He was sitting outside his house, and his mother was standing in the other door. So I could not recognize. He had a little hair fallen, and face was a little turned. First, I could not recognize. Then I went with one hand, he said, Namaskar. Then I could recognize the man. I sat next to him with so freeness. So he called me, I said. Then he could not lift one hand. The other hand, he just lifted and held my hand. He told me, because of your bitch, I am survived. So that's what happened. I said, that young man's mother, she at once she told, night at 12 o'clock, he had severe headache. Severe headache. So we asked for a jeep to by phone to come to the other side of the river. We tied him in the kambal and bamboo. We just lifted him up and took him to the jeep over the bridge. And then first tears came in his house, in his ears. Then he told with the gratitude when he said, no, I too had tears. So people remember me like this. Great feeling.
Those who serve the people with absolute honesty and dedication, like you, also value the impact of their work. What is it that you hold the most dear to your heart about your contribution?
While working, actually, we are attracted towards the love and gratitude only for working. And because of the business, a lot of some people got employment also with me, the like-minded boys. But the changes made in my heart is entirely different. Uh, so something divine feelings. Anybody walks on my bridge, he is Prabhu Sri Ram. Any uh, lady who walks is Mother Sitama. And my workshop and my the tents what we put on the riverside, they are my mandirs. The team, people who work with me, they are my gods. And the bridges what I build, it is the puja to the country. That's all. That's the feeling. Sincerely doing it. There is a poem written by Swami Ramdas. I am in the world where my beloved dwells. He is my prop, hope, and joy. In the face of man, bird, and beast, I see the light of my beloved Supreme. My appeal to man is my prayer to him. My service to man is my worship of him. My love of man is my devotion to him. God apart from man is no God for me. The satisfaction of we get is entirely different from ordinary helping others.
Is that the reason why you did not stop after building one bridge and went on to build well over 130 bridges?
Yeah. Yeah. Nowadays, our country is developed. In every village is having a road, and they want to have vehicular bridges, at least four-wheeler. So these hanging bridges are a little outdated. So there is no demand for. There is a request for. I'm also tired. So as I and aged, 71.
Times are changing, like you said, but tell us about some of the specifications of your bridge. What were they made of? What was the average lifespan? How did maintenance happen?
The bridges are made of generally RCC towers. Sometimes in some places steel towers also we have used. Steel towers. Steel towers become little expensive. RCC is little economical and durable also. So, RCC towers and anchorages, they don't need any maintenance. Steel wire rope. We used to go for general steel wire rope and in the beginning economy, ungalvanized. That will last for only 25 to 40 years only. So later when the request came, I said, you people are not maintaining it, no painting are doing. So better go galvanize. Galvanize means zinc coated. So they agreed. The cost is little more, but life is also more. So department people agreed and like that is to prepare an estimate. Periodic checkup is required and painting. Such things are required. Now the galvanized bridges, they last for even a century if properly maintained. There are bridges where trees have fallen and there is like some damage and some 7, 8 bridges in 2018 washed out because of the flood.
Yes, I was coming to that. Tell us about that time when in 2019 many people in Karnataka wrote to you appealing to you to either rebuild or repair some of the bridges that you had built that were either damaged or washed away by floods because they wanted their lifeline back.
Now two bridges are under reconstruction. Two bridges can be repaired, we have given estimate. And other places they want to have vehicular bridges, big RCC bridges. So I don't have any work. So out of the 4 bridges will be rebuilt. And the maintenance, so small bridges, the local people do it. If our help is required, they call us, we go there. And again, it is an opportunity to meet the villagers. When we go for maintenance, I feel it nice.
So you are passionate about building bridges for villagers. Are there any other interests that you may have explored?
Our Prime Minister's is supporting yoga. Yoga, no? As a complementary or supportive that program, in the there's Ashtanga Yoga is there. First two steps, Yama Niyama it is called. Like that, Satya, Ahimsa, Asteya, Aparigraha, Shaucha, Brahmacharya, Swadhyaya, Santosha, Ishwar Pranidhana. Such things would have been in our education system, they are vanished. So if we teach the children in the young age certain observations and practices in life, what our country was having, believing and doing. So I want to teach the village. Not I cannot go and teach. I have published a small book in Kannada, 2 steps for sweet, harmonious life. If every child learns that, then when he grows up, he will have a good feeling. There will be no hatred in his heart. He can live a harmonious life with others and he will not be greedy. So children must be taught this first 2 steps of harmonious life. So it will be complementary to our Prime Minister program, yoga. First is they have to study and then they can go for yoga.
So you've done quite a bit for rural empowerment and you want to do more. Let me tell the viewers here that Prime Minister Narendra Modi wrote a letter to you asking for your support for Swachh Bharat. You've also been conferred with the Padma Shri in 2017. What is your vision for your village and rural India as a whole?
I have displayed some signboards. This is little different. Not just a don't put litter here. And I have done good people won't throw a litter here and there on the road or on the roadside. You be good. And there is a river flowing in the town. So there I have written, see, if you throw garbage here in the rainy season, germs will be developed and that will go to the river. Disease will be spread. Don't be a victim. Don't be a criminal because they'll be spoiling the whole system. Like that, some signboards I have put. But I cannot say that we have cleaned the sun completely. We have reduced the level of this garbage and other things. So in the school level itself, we have to teach the children how to manage. We have done it, but not sufficient. I am not satisfied. In every school, the first the teacher should be taught to teach children, keep the environment clean, and keep their surroundings clean. They have to teach them. Then it will start. Just once in a while we go and do some cleanup drive, take photograph, put in the paper. It's not sufficient. Educating people more and more. That is required. So we are doing some work, but that is not sufficient still.
I must say, Mr. Bharadwaj, that your work for rural India has been commendable. Thank you so much for joining us on Doordarshan.
You're welcome.